Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of A Splash of Paint, brought to you in association with the SAA, Society for All Artists. Let's jump straight in and take a closer look at some of the colourful treats coming up on today's packed programme. I'll be showing you a few more tips to help you along with some sketching techniques. Popular mixed media artist Alison Board shares her passion for gesso primer and demonstrates how it's perfect for adding a touch of texture to your works of art. We sail away with Murray Ince as he shows us the beauty of using artisan oils wet in wet. And versatile artist Keith Fenwick returns for the second part of his watercolour landscape project, where he demonstrates some simple techniques for adding some depth and shadow into the foreground of your paintings. So let's kick things off and join watercolour wonder Geoff Kersey as he demonstrates some of his top tips and techniques for painting beautiful boats resting on the tranquil Norfolk coast in part one of today's Try Your Hand At project.
Thanks, Matthew. Well, this painting I'm going to do now is boats at rest in the evening. It's on the Norfolk coast. I'm doing it square format. Of late I've been trying a few paintings in square format and I do like it. A little bit unusual, of course the most common one is for it to be a rectangle, but we'll see how it goes. I've got some colours mixed and ready and I'm going to start by wetting the whole of the background of the painting. The boats, and there are 3 boats in the picture, they're already masked out. I've already put masking fluid on so I can have a little bit of white paper later on, but the rest of it is going to have an overall wash. So let's start with good spongefuls of water. Smudges the pencil line slightly, but that doesn't matter, won't make any difference. And right down to the bottom. There's quite a bit of background to put in with this initial wash, so I don't want it to dry halfway through, so I'm leaving it a moment to soak in while I charge up the sponge again, and I'm just going to go over it again, looking at it sideways on at that shine on the paper, just to make sure there aren't any dry patches. And then straight away I've got a large 1-inch flat brush, and I'm going to take a wash of Naples yellow. The top of the picture, with this little glimpse of sky in the very top quarter of the paper, really is lighter, and the colour gradually becomes stronger. I'm going to mix a bit more of that, just a bit more Naples yellow and water. Keep that and run that down. It's only a light tint, this, so you may not see a lot of colour at the moment. And as I work my way down, I'm going to introduce a wash of burnt umber. Now, the key to this is to get one colour in while the previous one is still wet, so that you don't get lines forming, rather you get this soft wash effect. Let's get it a bit wetter down the bottom to keep the paint fluid. In a warm room you find your paint dries very quickly. That's why I took the time to mix it all beforehand. Let's get a bit more burnt umber, maybe a bit stronger this time as I reach the bottom. And now I'm introducing burnt umber with cobalt blue added to it, and a little hint of rose madder as well to keep that bit of warmth in the colour, that hint of red. Working rapidly across. Keeping it nice and soft. Let's just get that very bottom bit a bit darker with some more cobalt blue and rose madder, a nice rich purple. And then I'm browning that with some more burnt umber. Quite thick now, quite a strong dark mixture, just to get that bottom in there and really bring that forward. Now while that's still damp, I've got a number 10 brush and a little bit of grey made from cobalt blue, rose madder and burnt umber. Fairly light colour this, and I'm just going to suggest a little bit of cloud at the top of the scene here, just taking advantage of the fact that the paper's still damp and softening those cloud shapes in. Not too much, I don't want a lot of detail in the sky. It's fairly light. It's more of a suggestion than anything, not too much detail. Maybe put a little bit of burnt umber into that as well. That bit of warmth into it. Maybe a little bit darker at the top. It always helps, I think, if your sky is darker at the top and lighter towards the horizon. Now, while that's drying, I'm going to mix some more colour. I'm going to mix a grey with cobalt blue, rose madder and burnt umber again. Nice and light, not too strong. And this is for the distant hill. Well, the studio's quite warm and it's dried very quickly, so I can go straight now into painting the distant hills. I've got a number 10 brush there, but I want a smaller one than that. So I've got a number 8 brush and the same grey mixture, the cobalt blue, rose madder and burnt umber that I used in the background. In fact, this whole painting is coming out of about 5 or 6 different colours. Okay, so let's start with the distant hill. Make it look a bit irregular and uneven. This is Norfolk, so it's not a steep hill. Trying to get as nice a level line as I can. I find better to do something like this without a ruler because that makes it almost look mechanical. I find it's easier to paint a straight line as well if you keep the brush moving, if you paint quite quickly. Now, to give the impression that the colour is that bit darker nearer to the water's edge, I'm just using the tip of the number 8 brush with a slightly stronger mixture of that grey, and I'm just touching that in right along where the distant hill meets the water. Now, this left-hand side here, this hasn't got a hard edge, this has a soft edge because it's a bank full of trees. Ideally, I should have put that in while the sky was still wet, but then I wouldn't have got a hard edge for the base of it. So in a situation like this, I make sure I've got my colour ready, and it's more of the grey again, but this time a little bit stronger to make this hill look further forward. That purpley grey. And before I apply it, I'm just going to dampen the background. I've got a number 10 brush here full of clean water. And when you're going to dampen a background again, in order to get a soft shape, you have to wet a larger area than you need. So you can see there just a very faint pencil line for the tops of these trees. I've got to wet an area higher up than that, because of course once the paint reaches the edge of the water, you get a hard edge, which is the very thing that I'm trying to avoid. Okay, then with that colour, let's just soften that in to that dampened background. Darkening it a little bit. I've added a bit more cobalt blue to the mixture to darken it as I bring it down. And then bringing that one out in front of that hill I did before. And it's important that this is a darker, richer colour to bring it in front of the previous hill. Create that feeling of distance. And now I'm bringing it down right to the water's edge. Okay. There's a little boat there, I'm just painting over it, but that's all right because I've got masking fluid on it. Okay, now that that's done, I'm going back to the number 10 brush with clean water on it, and let's dampen this area here. So I can put in a reflection. So again, I'm dampening it carefully so I don't make any marks or stains on the paper, and I'm also dampening a larger area than I need, and then picking up the grey again. I'm going to try to leave the thinnest line of dry white paper to separate reflection from bank. And then roughly follow the shape of the reflections, but this time upside down. Doesn't have to be perfect, it's not a mirror image, just has to echo what I did previously, with that tiny little light white line to separate it. So let's take a break and you can join me later in the programme where we'll complete this scene.
Thanks, Geoff. A really great project for you to get your teeth into. We look forward to seeing part 2 later on in today's programme. Well, folks, time for us to take a little break, but join us in part 2 when I'll be showing you a few more of my own simple tips and tricks to help develop your sketching techniques. And popular mixed media artist Alison Board shares her secret for introducing a touch of texture to your works of art. See you after the break.